For more, we're going to go to our main man, the voice of the Detroit Lions. Joins us every week on Friday, the morning drive with Dan Miller. We love him. The sports director at Fox 2. Good morning, Dano.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Good. Thanks
Morning.
for hopping on with us. We just heard from Hutch. I know you've heard the cut as well. And he's like, the next 3 games, the next 3 home games, we got to be 3-0 in them. How much do you put into that?
No, I think they understand what the urgency is. I think Dan Campbell set the tone early in the week when he said it's not time for panic, but it is time for urgency. Um, I don't know how much I would be looking at the 3-game block as much as I'd be looking at the Giants,
Of
with the
course.
understanding that what Hutch said is exactly right. You need to make a move over these 3 weeks. It's a chance to get healthy. It's a chance to get your record back in shape. And having 3 at home with other teams facing a tough schedule, and believe me, this schedule isn't easy, as you guys alluded to a moment
Yep.
ago with Green Bay and Dallas. But there's no escaping the fact that there's 7 games to go. You've got 3 straight at home. You're not leaving for a month now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a chance to get something going here and make a move in the standings. You dropped from first to third last week, but here's this wonderful opportunity that anybody can see. And I just think they're cognizant of that, but they're also smart enough to take it one game at a time, and that's a cliche, but you have to do it. You can't be worrying about Green Bay on Sunday.
No doubt, Dan. And they go through the NFC East again. They beat Washington, your old Washington team, but they lose to the Eagles last week. What was your thoughts on that game? You were there, Sunday Night Football. We were all excited and ready for that game, and it just didn't work out. But you know what? They were in that game to the end, believe it or not.
Yeah, defense played great. I really thought the defense did a heck of a job against Philadelphia. I think, look, the offense was disappointing. We're not used to seeing this offense struggle like that. We're not used to seeing Jared Goff off target like that. I mean, the guy's a machine. We've seen, multiple games where he's completed 80% of his passes, and the norm has been over 70. And when a guy goes 14 for 37,
Yeah.
it catches your attention. Now, obviously, there's multiple reasons for that. I sat down with him on Monday and I said, look, you had the weather, you had a really good defense, you're a human being who can have an off day. And he said, probably all 3 of those. So throw in the fact that probably there was a time or two where the receivers might not have been in the exact right place, because that happens in a game too. And it just was off rhythm.
Yeah.
It just was not a good day for them. And it's not something that I would necessarily overreact to, but I would acknowledge the fact that really going back to that Kansas City game, outside of Washington, they've not had that game where we've seen the offense really take off. Even against Tampa, you felt like they left
Yep.
some out there. Minnesota wasn't good. So there's some urgency now to get this offense moving in the right direction and get it clicking. There's been some changes from last year, and
Heck
I think
yeah.
they're still adapting to those. And maybe, you're not going to be what you were last year when you had one of the best players in the league at center and a former Pro Bowler at guard, and you're doing things a different way now. So, look, my feeling coming out of that Philadelphia game was disappointment, probably anger,
Mm-hmm.
but also a feeling that, you know what? If that's what they have to beat somewhere down the line, they can beat those guys. So I think I came out of there cognizant of the fact that Philadelphia was good. They did some things to beat Detroit. Detroit did some things to beat themselves, but I'm confident if they play their game, they can handle that team.
I agree, Dan, 100%. I wasn't even disappointed to a fact. I'm not panicking. I do want to see this team get back to the way they looked 2 years ago towards the end of the year. And then, of course, last year, winning 15 games. But you said it. That O-line, you're missing Ragnow, and you're missing Zeitler, and you're missing your rookie, Mahogany, and you're putting guys in that they don't even know what the hell they're doing. And you played against the Eagles, and those tree trunks, those guys were blocking balls like Wilt Chamberlain was blocking back in the day. But you got the Giants on your schedule here now, and you got Jameis Winston coming in, or it might be Jackson Dart, and their
Yeah,
defense
don't
is
know.
pretty darn good as well.
Yeah, and if you look at their offense, if you look at that game against Green Bay, they had 5 drives over 9 plays and outgained Green Bay in that game. So, I know they're missing guys on that offense, key players for them, but I wouldn't sleep on the Giants right now. Their record should look a lot better. They've
Yep.
had 3 or 4 highly improbable losses where their win percentage was over 90% in the fourth quarter and they let those games slip away. And that's a statement about your team because you're not good enough, but it's also a statement that, you put yourself in position in games where if you made another play or two, you might have 5 or 6 wins on the season. So, look, the Lions are a better team. There's no doubt about that. But you need to go out there and prove it on the field. You're not going to be able to just roll it out there. They've put a lot of assets, as you alluded to, into that defensive front. They got some dudes up there. Burns is second in the league in sacks. Lawrence is a guy that can disrupt things in the middle. And Abdul Carter is obviously a really good rookie. So I think, and I've talked to people about Carter, a couple of people in New York that, look, he's got a half sack in a lot of snaps this year. But they've all made the point. There's obviously some maturity issues which have cropped up recently. But when he's been on the field, he has been impactful. So don't sleep on him either. So, look, you should win this game.
Yeah.
You're the better team. But you got to go out there and do it. And then you move on to Green Bay. And obviously that would be a huge game on Thursday. But that game's not nearly as big if you don't handle your business on Sunday.
Amen.
Yeah, good morning, Dan. And speaking of another Dan Campbell, he took over the play calling a couple weeks ago, and fans and media all rejoiced. And then last week happens, and people are damn near saying, give it back now. It's absolutely crazy. I even saw, I believe it was on Get Up on ESPN yesterday morning, saying that Dan Campbell, maybe he should tone it down or maybe not even call plays at all. Do you think that, maybe Dan Campbell is the answer in terms of offensive play calling going forward this year? And does he need to tone it down a bit?
He's going to call the plays the rest of this year. You can't make that change and then starts flipping it around and saying, all right, you try this week. Let's see what we got. When you are a head coach and you make a decision like that, that's a long process of thinking about what's the right thing to do. And ultimately, when you do it, you're committing to it. So there's no doubt in my mind he'll be calling the plays. He's not going to go back to John Morton. He's not going to, hand it over to somebody else. That's not going to happen. So, it's one of those things where in looking at that game, I don't think Dan Campbell had any idea that was going to be a 16-point output from Philadelphia. I think he thought he was going to need to score 20, 23 points to win that game. And I think that's why you saw him continue to try to keep drives alive. And then I'll also say there was some difficulty in a couple of those drives going into certain direction where you would have had to try to kick a field goal. We watched Jake Bates during the warm-ups. You saw him try the 48-yard extra point. It died down a little bit towards the end of the night when he kicked the 54-yarder, and he nailed that thing. But going in that direction, it was difficult. But in a vacuum, yeah, that doesn't look great when you're 0 for 5 on fourth down and you're whatever it was, 3 for 18 or 4 for 18 in third and fourth down. But some of that is first and second down too, that they just weren't making enough plays on those down to get themselves into advantageous down and distance. And when they did, they didn't take advantage of it because there certainly were times that they were. So, it's easier after a game to say tone it down than it is in a game when you feel like you have to score because you're trying to keep pace or what you think the pace is ultimately going to call for. But do I think he's going to change? I think that was drastic. That was 5 times against a really good defense. Even when we've seen him, kind of rolling the dice before, it hasn't been 5 times. So do I think we'll repeat that? I don't. But do I think he's going to change who he is as a play caller? I don't. I think we know fourth down is part of his DNA. He trusts that offense, even on an off night, to go out there and make a play. And they just didn't get it done. Now saying that, the fake punt, my thinking is, hey, man, if you're going to go for it, keep your offense out there. They're paid to get 2 yards, whereas it's difficult for a punt unit to do that sometimes. But we've seen that also work out from time to time before. So it's a long way of saying I don't think you'll see 5 times again. But at the same time, I don't think he's going to materialistically change who he is as a play caller. He's got his DNA. That's the way he does it.
Yeah, and with this Eagles game, it left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. Of course, this was a game that we all circled, in the preseason and saying, okay, the Lions get to play the defending Super Bowl champs. We're going to finally get to see what they look like against the Eagles after so long. And it did not look good, man. I think that a lot of fans feel like at this point, the Lions may have a contender issue. They play well against, lower rated teams, but they seem to, kind of clam up when they go against some of the bigger contenders in the NFC. Do you think that they have a contender issue or that they don't show up for big games? Because that's kind of a narrative that's going around the fan base right now.
Well, I mean, they lost to Green Bay. They lost to Philadelphia. You lost to Kansas City. But are we going to sit here right now and say we don't think they can beat those teams if they play the way they're capable of playing? I'm not. I certainly think they're capable of doing it.
Yes, sir.
Do they have to prove it? Yeah, you're not going anywhere unless you do prove it. You're going to need to beat Green Bay down the stretch. You might need to beat Chicago in Week 18. So, I've seen enough of this team to understand what they've done against those teams this year, and that you can't argue that. That's right there on the paper. They've lost to them. But if you're telling me that people don't believe they can beat those teams, I would disagree with that. I'm confident they can beat those teams. They just need to put offense and defense together. They played plenty good enough on defense to win that game against Philadelphia. You can make the case their offense was better than the Eagles' offense on that night. They just didn't finish drives. When you start 3 consecutive drives, get into plus territory in the second half and have nothing to show for it, that's disappointing, but it certainly shows you had a chance and you were moving the ball. So I get it. I understand that they have not performed well against some of the better teams on their schedule this year. One, I still believe they can. I look at the talent on this team. I see it. I know what they're capable of. Two, we don't need to talk about it. We're going to find out coming up the rest of the season how they do against those teams. It's going to be right there in front of us. And either they will and they'll advance and maybe win the division and get to the playoffs, or they won't, and we'll be at the end of the season saying, you know what, the difference was they couldn't beat those teams.
Good morning, Dan. You just talked about finishing drives, and I want to ask you about Dave Montgomery appeared to be the more efficient runner in terms of carrying the football, not in the pass game. Do you think that we could see more Monty coming up in the near future because they have been struggling to finish drives?
I don't think it's going to change a lot. I don't. I mean, look how explosive Jameer was in that game and the plays that he made to get them in those positions as well. And I know what you're saying about David. Sometimes, it looks a little bit better, but you can't take the ball out of Jameer Gibbs' hands. There's going to be a division there that these two are both going to play. And it's so easy after a game to say, well, that didn't work, so why didn't they play the other guy? Well, look at the move that Jameer made to get open for a touchdown in Washington. The linebacker can't cover him. He's better in the game at that point. Dave is not going 78 yards or whatever Ja did earlier this year. There's a difference in the two backs. They're both good. They both have a role. But if you're asking me if we're going to get to a game and I'm going to be comfortable with Demo having 18 carries and Jameer having 6, the answer is no. He is one of the best 3 running backs in this league. He needs the ball in his hands. And sometimes you need to get it to him 7 or 8 times before the big one comes. But it's going to come at some point, usually for him. He's going to break off a big one at 30, 40, 50, 60, whatever it is. Yeah. So I get it. It's a conversation. But both those guys have a role on this team. And like I said, if you're going to tell me that your game plan is to limit the touches that Jameer gets, I'm going to tell you I disagree with that.
Hey, Dan, last one for you. Dan Miller, of course, joining us every Friday morning. Thanks to that, of course, the voice of the Lions, sports director of Fox 2. Dan, what do you think of the Christmas Day games? And look, listen, you're looking at a junkie, but I don't know. You're playing at 4 o'clock, and then guess what? In 3 years, Christmas is going to be on a Sunday. So is every team going to play on Christmas Day on that day? I just don't. I think it's too much now, if you ask me.
Well, Maz, look, we know what it is. It's about money. Let's just call it what it is. It's about money, and that's why The NBA has a schedule on Christmas Day.
No one
That's
watches
why the NFL has gone to Christmas Day. I can't speak to the ratings. I have no idea. But that's why, you added a third game on Thanksgiving also because they wanted to rotate it beyond Dallas and Detroit. But this league is going to do what it can to get its product out there to people. I mean, look at the NBA right now. Night to night, I don't even know what it's on, but I end up finding it because I don't know if it's Prime or it's NBC or it's ESPN or wherever it is. So, look, it's money, and it's just I don't necessarily love going to Europe to play a game, but I understand why they do it. I love the rhythm of an NFL season, where I know what I'm doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and boom, I do the same thing the next week and the same thing the next week, and don't necessarily love the fact that you got to pack up and go, but nobody cares. They're doing it to make the product bigger and to spread it throughout the world. And on Christmas, they're doing it because they know they have a captive audience of people that my guests will sit in front of the television and watch games and things like that. So I think you have to go to why it's happening before you figure out, am I angry about it or whatever? And you just have to. That's where we are, Maz. That's why things have changed. That's why we have a Thursday night game in every week. It's an attempt to grow the product and put it out there when you know you have a captive audience. People aren't working; they're all sitting around at home, and that TV's usually going to be on.
I get it, man. I get it. It's Christmas. I feel for you guys.
Man,
I do get it. I do get it. I feel bad for the beat writers. The guys have to cover the NFL teams, and Christmas, man. It's Christmas.
Yeah, listen,
it is. I get it.
You
this ain't no Christmas
movie,
man.
For it. You sign up for it when you take the gig, and listen, that's going to be a fun game. I love Minnesota. I love. It's a great stadium. The fans are great. It's a great rivalry between these two teams. So I'm looking forward to that one and something anyway. So bring that one on. Let's go.
We're looking forward to Sunday, Dan. That's first things first. Beat the Giants.
Amen.
What's
they
Fox
can't do anything if you don't do that?
Hey, what's Fox doing for all the Lions coverage? Tell everybody.
We'll be on 10 a.m. Sunday morning. Maz has me wondering if the game is Saturday now. 10 a.m. Sunday morning, we'll be live at Ford Field, network at 11, and then the game kicks off at 1, and we'll have a big post-game show, wrap everything up on Sunday night at 11 o'clock, and looking forward to that. Cowboys-Eagles at 4 o'clock on Fox, which certainly looks like a better game, too. Dallas is playing better, man.
Yeah, they are. Look out, man. Quentin Williams, look out. Ask TJ if he can get on that line for us. Please, ask TJ if he can help that whole line out.
He may have a snap or two left. But
okay.
You might. You never know.
I think he's quite happy up there hanging with us.
I don't blame him. Thanks, buddy. We'll talk to you next week. Have a great call, man.
Appreciate it.
See you Sunday.
Appreciate
Dan Miller, voice of the Lions, sports director of Fox 2, and Christmas game lover. Dan Miller. No, he's not a lover. He just has to. You got to do the job. I get it. I totally get it.
Only you would ask him that. Come on, man. What are you supposed to say?
I know. Just being real, man.
This ain't no Disney movie, man.
You
gotta work, bro.
When I used to deal blackjack at the casino downtown,
of course you don't.
They're open. They don't give a damn holiday. They don't give a damn what holiday it is. I dealt at MGM. All the casinos are open. It's just like it's a Wednesday. They don't care. It's open and it's packed. It's packed.
Massmobile doing blackjack.
It's what it is, man. Yeah, I used to deal blackjack.
That's hilarious.
Isn't that funny? Hey, hands off, right?
Right.
I didn't last long though. I hated it. Absolutely hated it.
You hated doing blackjack?
Did y'all have the X-ray tables and all that?
I did not have the X-ray table.
Okay.
They were
Sure you didn't.
They were on the up and up. Man.
Oh, okay.
They were on the up and up. I'll tell you stories about it. I just felt bad for the people that go to the casinos. I did.
On Christmas?
No, period.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I saw people there from the morning shift through the night shift trying to get their money back.
Right.
I had people falling asleep on my table. Okay? Playing blackjack. Falling asleep.
That's crazy.
So it just didn't rub me the right way. And listen, you're talking to a guy that used to love playing craps. Matter of fact, I paid for my first car and insurance by winning at the crap table in Atlantic City. It ruined me because I kept going back. But it's okay. I paid for that car 100 times over since. JB, we got plenty more coming up, including our picks and KG's game of the week. We got that. And where are we going right now?